Now, data co-ops are essentially, it's a data governance structure that really empowers people to have a group, like a support system. That's how I think about it. So it's really hard for me to manage my data, and my own data is also not that valuable. But if I only use my genetic data and my medical history to understand a certain disease, I'm not going to get far because I don't have a comparison. I don't have like different versions. But if everybody, if like, let's say we get people together who have a shared interest. My go-to example these days is expecting moms. You want to know, what should I do during pregnancy to make sure I'm healthy and to make sure that baby's healthy, given my, again, genetics, medical history, lifestyle, age, and so on and so forth. And what we could do is we could kind of have a data co-op. So that's an entity that's owned by its members. So all of the pregnant ladies now own this entity, and we pool our data. And because it's many of us, we can now hire experts that help us make the most of it, right? So experts who can set up, for example, the infrastructures for federated learning, so we don't have to send our data, who can decide if a pharma company approaches us, is this actually one that we should be trusting? For what purposes? Maybe we set it up again, such that we don't send the data, but we share intelligence. And then they can also share insights with us directly. So there's one in Switzerland that's called My Data, for example, which does the same thing for MS patients. So pooling data from MS patients, which is a disease that's really poorly understood. And it's determined by so many factors that it's really difficult to figure out how to treat each person. So what they do is they collect, as a data co-op, data from patients, data from non-patients. They first of all learn something about the disease, but then they also, for each patient that's part of the co-op, they connect with a doctor in the hospital and say, okay, here's like what we would recommend based on all of the data that we're seeing for patient X. Now you try, as a doctor, you decide what you want to do in the end, but give us feedback on what worked and what didn't work. So every person, every member of the co-op actually benefits directly. In the same way that we have banks, for example, with fiduciary responsibilities, true for the data co-op as well, right? So the data co-op is legally obligated to act in the best interest of its members. And for me, that's a totally different game. So it goes beyond regulation, because it's not just trying to mitigate risk, it's really trying to help every person maximize the utility that they can get from their data.